Guys, in this video, we're going to be going over how you can stop overvaluing others and undervaluing yourself. This is one of the most crippling behaviors for a lot of people who put others on a pedestal and make themselves feel small and little. And we're going to be going over why this can be so crippling and how you can get yourself out of this. That's coming up next. Guys, welcome. My name is Dave. This is HeartSpace, where we are helping you to expand your awareness, consciousness, and of course, be a space from your heart. And in this video, I want to go over a topic or an idea that plagues many different people, because tell me if this applies to you or not in the comments, but have you ever been someone or currently are someone or know someone who overvalues other people, essentially puts them on a pedestal, and undervalues themselves as a result, to the point where it leads to things like depression? It leads to them feeling like they're not enough, feeling like they're not loved, they're not wanted, things of that nature. This can be a very, very crippling thing, and it really just comes from a misunderstanding. And that's all it really comes from, because if you ever see someone up on a pedestal, you're not living in what actuality is. You are just looking at that person, comparing yourself to them, and believing because they have X, Y, or Z from your perspective that they are greater than you at your core for some reason. And again, this can be one of the most crippling things, and why comparing yourself to others is a habit you want to get out of, unless using it strategically and emotionally detaching from it. So, one of the biggest reasons people do feel lower is not because they feel lower and then put other people on a pedestal. Usually it starts with you putting someone on a pedestal, overvaluing someone, and then as a result, because you have to have the opposite of that, you feel lower. Because if you're putting someone on a pedestal and think they're better, obviously, as a result of that, in comparison to that, you are thinking something is lower. In this case, yourself, that you think you're lower on a lower level than this person here. Again, if you're coming from this, like, this person's more skilled than I, and I'm lower and I have to bridge that gap, that's actually very healthy. That's something completely different to do with skills. But if you think you as a human being, as a divine, co-creative, infinite soul, is lesser than someone else, then that is a feeling, that is an attitude you definitely want to shift. Because in reality, we are all right here. We are all one and the same at our core, at our soul level. There is no one that is greater than anyone else at that level. There are people who are greater at certain skills, certainly. There are people that have more of something, certainly. But that doesn't make you lesser than anyone else. Someone who has no money is as valuable at their core in what they truly are as someone who has all the money in the world. You know, you can't tell me that someone who's born into a rich family, who was just born into that circumstance, is just naturally better than someone who had the unfortunate fate of being born in a place of absolute destitute and poverty. It doesn't work that way. You're all on an even playing field, and there is no up and down in the soul game as far as who's better than another. And actually evolving your consciousness, getting to a whole other level, is understanding. And a whole other level, not in, again, better than, but moving up the consciousness scale, is understanding that there is no comparison. There is no better than or lesser than. That is all subjective. And the reason you might see someone up on a pedestal is because you've been conditioned to believe that someone that has certain things is better than, and someone who has other things is less than. Instead of understanding at your core that we're all the same. We're all in this together. We're all playing the same game. And at the end of the day, all the things that we accumulate that make you think that person's up on this pedestal doesn't go with them. When they move on to the next thing, they're not taking their money, their personality, any of that with them. It's all a temporary game we play. So, one thing you can start doing to alleviate this a little is to stop comparing. I know it's very addictive to compare things. You want to know where you stand in comparison to others, how much money you have in comparison to that person, how strong you are in comparison to that person, how good socially you are, X, Y, and Z. And if you're doing that from a very emotional standpoint, you only serve to lower the significance and importance of yourself according to you. You know, there's a famous study that took a look at a thing called Facebook depression. Now, what is that? Facebook is famous for people putting on display there the things they want other people to see, while kind of glossing over or not even including the things they don't want people to see. So what you get is this avatar, this caricature of the actual person on Facebook where it looks like they have the perfect life. You see maybe these beautiful women on the beach all the time. All their pictures are on the beach and they're drinking these expensive drinks, or they're in these resorts. They're always with friends and they're all happy all the time and everything like that. Or you see this guy and he's just living an incredible life. He's incredibly social. He's maybe he has a lot of women around him and you want that. Maybe he's showing off his wealth, his money, whatever it is. The problem is that a lot of the stuff you see on there isn't true. It is an illusion designed by that person to make you think their life is a certain way, because no one wants other people to think their life is crap at the moment. No one wants other people to think that they are in a troubled spot, or they're in trouble. That was a weird way of saying that they're struggling a bit. No one likes to demonstrate those things for the most part. And so what happens is a thing called Facebook depression when you look at these profiles, which again are illusory, are an exaggeration of someone's life, usually to an extreme degree. You look at it and it has nothing to do with the content of that person's character, how they are, the accumulation of their personality, all of that. But you look at that, you make the comparison and think, wow, I don't measure up to that person. Look, they're at the beach all the time surfing and with these attractive women I want to be around, or with these attractive men I want to be around. They have all these incredible friends, it looks like, and they're somehow able to go out every single night, get a ton of work done, do all this stuff. I can't do that without burning out. Why can't I? Why? Because it's not true. They're not really doing that 24/7, but it appears as if they are. And this is why we put so many people up on a pedestal, not just in the Facebook example, but in the rest of life too. You don't have all of the context. You are just seeing the content. You are seeing some of the content of their life, but you don't have the context of their life. You don't have the experiences they've gone through, the struggles they've gone through, all of those things that if you actually looked at them, you would see they are very similar to you. Again, we are all very similar. We are all one. We are all coming from the same place at our core. And if you were just to look at the context of that person's life, you would see, wow, that person I thought was so beyond me actually has very similar problems, human problems. How about that? Similar struggles. They have similar dreams and goals and ambitions. Of course, this can vary to a degree, but we're so used to seeing separation that we very rarely see the connection. And if you were to really look, you'd see there isn't much to compare yourself on unless you're going to do it without any emotion, detach yourself from emotion in order to, again, bridge a gap skill-wise or something of that nature. But you see there isn't much that separates us, if at all. And that the whole world tries to tell you you're separate, when in reality, you're all very the same. So the first thing is to understand that, be aware of that, and then to stop comparing yourself to this not real life you're seeing on Facebook or Instagram or whatever else it is. It's very easy to manipulate a picture or something like that to make something look make it look like something that it isn't. So the first step, stop comparing. Second step, stop putting your validation in things outside of you. Oh, I'm only good enough if this. I'm only good enough if that. And yes, I get it. A lot of people have been conditioned that way. But you can recondition yourself. Start coming more from a place of the internal world to the outer world. And guess what? The outer world always follows your internal world. The way you think about yourself, the world, the thoughts you have, the feelings you have are going to help shape the environment around you. And so if you don't feel good enough, the universe will reflect back to you many more situations to confirm the reality of you not being good enough, because that is what you're giving it. But when you start to come from a more place of empowerment, you start to see that, wow, I am a divine, co-creative, infinite being. I do have access to infinite possibilities. I can empower myself. I can do this. I can live my dreams. I can do these things. I can build things every single day. I can create habits that serve me. I can stop comparing myself to people, to other people and where they're at. Even if they are in a place I want to get to, again, bridge that gap. Come at it with a detachment of feeling bad because of it, and come from a more empowered place. And when you start doing that, you'll notice you're not putting people up on a pedestal anymore. I can say for myself, I catch myself sometimes, but I rarely ever put someone up on a pedestal anymore, because I know there isn't anyone better than me. There's no one worse than me either. Again, we're not talking about skills or things that are built over time. We're talking about at our core, I understand there's no one that's better. There's no one that's lesser. We're all the same. We're all equal in that regard at our core. We're all good enough. We're all deserving of love. We're all deserving of tapping in to our higher selves. And we are all deserving of creating for ourselves everything that life has to offer. But in order to create a reality like that, you have to first see yourself as deserving, and you have to change your internal world. And we will have many different videos on this channel. We have some already, and many more in the future that will be going over how you can start shifting that internal world that the outer world will then follow. But you need to start wrapping your head around this, because if you keep playing the comparison game, and guess what? The comparison game is always an external thing, never really an internal thing. If you live more in your internal world and allow that to start calibrating your outer world, you would stop comparing completely. But you need to stop that comparison game. Stop putting people up here. They're not. They're right there with you. We're all in this together. And start seeing your own value. Instead of seeing the things that you're not good at, start seeing the things you are and seeing how you can bring value now while you build the skills up to maybe improve some of those areas you want to improve. But you have to stop focusing on these so-called inadequacies that you have and beating yourself up for it. Because if you do that, you will always be in the comparison game, because you're only thinking those things in relation to something else that you want to be at. You will always be in that game. And as soon as you can remove yourself from that game, stop putting people up on pedestals. It's okay to have desires, but don't put them up here. Understand it's someone that's on your level that just did different things to get to a certain place. And that's how everyone gets to anywhere they are. If you see someone who hasn't gotten really anywhere, there's a reason for that. If you see someone who's incredibly successful, happy, and fulfilled, there's a reason for that, because their internal environment, I guarantee, is incredibly different. Their beliefs, their energy, everything, how they see the world is contrasting. So, stop comparing yourself. Understand that you are loved and you don't need to do anything to be loved. You are worthy. You don't need to do anything to be worthy. And I promise you, things will start to shift. Let me know any questions or thoughts you have in the comments. As always, I love you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.